Welcome back to Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville, where we're doing another episode of The Roll. Today, I want to talk to you about the GT four-door coupes. This one's a 53, but what it does is it reminds me of the cars that came before it. Cars like the Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL 6.3 that we took racing back in the 70s, winning Spa, I think the second time out. It's another car that was red. Obviously, there's the tie. I mean, that's why I'm thinking of it. But more than that, it's a big-bodied car. This car here, before the electrification, has 429 horsepower. The original Red Pig, for instance, 422 horsepower. So there are some tie-ins here. There are obviously some differences. We're going to get into that. But what I love about this car is that it's pushing the boundaries of what you can do with a big four-door coupe. Big four-door, we'll say, but it's still a nod to tradition. From the racing seats that we'll look at here in a minute, to the power, to the chassis ability on a racetrack, these things are just second to none, as was the 300 SEL 6.3 in the early 70s. So first thing I want to do is talk about maybe a couple of the differences. One of the differences, obviously, is the V8 from the 6.3 to the inline six-cylinder here. This 3-liter motor with the hybridization gives you the similar power to what we were making with our V8s, even up until a couple decades ago. Not even 70s in general, but the cool thing about this is that you have this hybridized mill here. So of course you have the AMG is still a brand that celebrates engine presentation. They're not going to let you forget that this is an inline six. You can see kind of almost looks like abs, right? But you got the 6 cylinders stacked right here on the motor. This is a single turbo with that 48-volt internal starter generator, right? So what we can use the hybridization here for is twofold. It starts and runs all the auxiliaries. So this is a beltless motor. That's what's allowed us to do the inline 6 versus the V6. The packaging gets better with these inline 6s due to the lack of belts on the front of the motor. That's all run, again, from that ISG, that internal starter generator motor. Also, that internal starter generator motor is going to run your turbo. So your turbo, as it waits for exhaust gases to spool itself up, is also getting an electronic charge from the battery, right? So here we have thrust right off the bottom. You're not waiting around like the turbo lag, right? So we've engineered out turbo lag. We've put tons of EV power on top of that 429. It just pulls from everywhere, right? So the performance, obviously, you know, we're worlds apart from where we were in the 70s, but the performance of this thing, though it's less than half the displacement, is on par, most definitely. And then again, you know, as with technology, as with the progression of the car business, now we're getting race seats in cars as standard. So what you're seeing here, Recaro buckets, optioned on all 3 trim levels. So the GT53, the GT63, and the GT63S all can come with these one-piece Recaro back buckets. I think a really nice seat if you're trying to hold yourself together. But obviously, not present in the 300 SEL back in the 60s and 70s was a rear seat. Those cars, well, not in the Red Pig anyways. Obviously the SEL would have come with a luxurious rear seat, but taking it racing, they pulled that, they caged the whole car. That's how they win endurance races. And you know, the thing that got us thinking about the tie-in and the history of our cars is this Ford versus Ferrari movie. If you guys haven't seen it, I want you to go have a look at it. I think it's instrumental to understanding kind of the history of things, where we come from, where we're going. So watching that movie, reminiscing about the GT40 and the Ferrari, the Monza, and all these cars, I think in that movie, it reminded me of the rich history that Mercedes-AMG has in racing, and I think this is a car that really exemplifies it nicely. So pull back, get a couple full frame shots for me, Ron, if you would. This is a special car, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. We're missing some of the lights. You know, we're not running 24-hour races with this thing, but it's a special car nonetheless. Until next time, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it.